Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
Back when the whole world experienced the COVID quarantine, do you remember feeling confined, overwhelmed, and fearful? At the time, I was studying the last chapters of Acts, where Paul was in prison for 2 years, then sent to Rome, where he was in house arrest for who knows how long. I had to laugh when I realized the similarities between his story and ours during the quarantine, especially as cruise ships hit the news, and I thought, if you must get quarantined, being on a cruise ship isn't the worst place to be, right? At least they have some awesome food. Well, Paul's free Mediterranean cruise ran into quite a few problems. And when he finally arrived at his destination, he had to work from home. I doubt if they had a toilet paper shortage, though, since it hadn't been invented yet. Paul wasn't exactly quarantined, but much like us, he had lots of adjustments to make. He couldn't go and do what he might have liked. And from that perspective, we can understand a bit of how he felt. But in reading Acts 27 and 28, I don't get the idea that he felt confined, overwhelmed, or fearful, like we did during the pandemic. So maybe we can learn a bit from Paul as to how to handle new frustrating situations we might find ourselves in. Paul had appealed to Caesar, which meant that they were sending him to Rome, which is where he'd planned to go 2 years before when he'd first come to Jerusalem. The first thing I noticed about this narrative beginning in chapter 27 was that it's written in first person. Paul isn't by himself. Other than Justus, the Roman guard, and the other prisoners, Paul's trusty scribe, personal doctor, and fellow missionary Luke, who is writing this account, traveled with him, as well as Aristarchus, a Macedonian from Thessalonica. When Paul wrote Colossians later, he called Aristarchus his fellow prisoner, but other places he's called a travel companion and fellow laborer. You might remember he was one of the Christians the crowd at Ephesus had dragged to the theater during a riot. He'd accompanied Paul to Jerusalem, bringing an offering, and he stayed with Paul throughout his imprisonment. What a good set of friends Paul had. So here's a good icebreaker for a party. Other than your family, if you had to choose 2 people to be quarantined with, who would they be? And think about this. Would you be on anyone's list? The people I would choose would be upbeat, positive people who know me well. Christian women I could pray with and enjoy being with. I'm sure Paul felt the same way about Luke and Aristarchus as they felt about him. The people who become our most trusted and closest friends are those who we invite on our journey of life together. And in our most difficult times, they're there, bringing encouragement, love, and prayer to our lives just when we need them. Who are those people in your life? Now would be a great time to thank them and give them some encouragement. You might even send them this podcast and tell them, you'd be the one I would choose.
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.